Hiya, my name is Erin Hughes. I am an artist that uses hundreds and thousands of hand marbled papers and I cut them up to create collages, often of landscapes. That the sort of technique of kind of the collaging the marbled papers, sticking them down together, for me is trying to emulate inlaid marble techniques that you might see in things like Pietratura, or even some of the pattern works I've done of sort of inlaid floor designs. And it's currently the 13th of January 2025. I've got a series of questions here. I'm going to try and answer as succinctly and truthfully as I can. So first of all, what is your background? So I grew up in a small seaside town called Emsworth on the south coast of the UK. And it has definitely shaped me and the way I make my artwork. I think it probably highlighted a sort of a natural affinity with nature and being close to the sea. Growing up near the sea is such a wonderful thing, to see it change over the seasons and also kind of not. But also in comparison to that, just the stark contrast of how socially I felt like I really didn't fit in very well in Emsworth. I was quite an awkward teenager, so I found spending most of my time in a shed in the garden trying to find a holding on reality through photorealistic drawing and painting was my bag. And the next question is, who are your biggest influences? And I suppose, like, following on from that place, like growing up in Emsworth, my other influences are also the other places I've lived. They're not necessarily like a person, but they kind of draw you into different sort of personalities. So I grew up in Emsworth and I did my BA in Oxford, and then I lived in Berlin for 4 years before moving to London, where I did my MA. And I lived there for about 2 and a bit years before moving to where I live now, which is in mid Wales, in a town called Llanidloes. And each of those places has really influenced me, because I think that I wouldn't consider myself to have like such a rich knowledge, like culturally or sort of art historically, in terms of artist influences, but I'm very influenced by the people around me and the surroundings around me. I'm quite a literal artist in that sense. So on my BA, I was really influenced by my peers. So Amber Sayal Bennett, Holly Graham, Laszlo Fondinani. We've all gone on to like create projects together, like Beyond Art School. And then in Berlin, I lived and worked there for 4 years, like I said, and I spent 3.5 of those 4 years helping an artist called David Thorpe make big sculptures out of mud. And he was really interested in the arts and crafts movement and making with sort of natural pigments and materials. And then the rest of Berlin had a lot of, ready-made artwork, slacker kind of style, a lot of post-internet art, post-internet art. Those two kind of stark contrasts again. I kind of found myself somewhere in the middle, of being interested in kind of both positions in different ways. And then in London, again, I was very interested in my peers more than the sort of exhibitions I saw in the galleries, to be perfectly honest. Because I like making things and I like making things happen. So I did a few sort of pop-up exhibitions with different artists. So Reina Sugihara. We had some funding and put on an exhibition in Safe House in London. Tom Kanyok and Tamu Nikuwana. We created a little project space together, and also Holly and Amber from my BA, we ran a project space as well. And Robert Young Antiques, I worked there, and we created another sort of ongoing project where we invited contemporary artists to come and look at the collection there. And he has this amazing collection of folk art and vernacular furniture. So then coming to Mid Wales, there's so many talented people around in the hills here. It's been really very inspiring, and I think the biggest influence from everyone here would probably have to be David Wade, who is best known for his website geometricism.com, where he's been documenting Islamic tiles from the Middle East. And he's the one that taught me how to make marbled papers. So he has really kind of helped me kind of in a big shift in my own practice. So there's a few different reference points there. What are you focusing on right now? Right now I am working on a few things. So I've currently got my solo exhibition Flawed up in Aberystwyth Art Centre until the 9th of February. And I'm working on my artist talks. I'll be doing a public talk sort of sharing my journey as an artist from sort of early influences to date to what I created for the exhibition. And so I'm working on creating that talk and also preparing for some upcoming kind of community workshops that I'm doing. And I'm also excited that I'm continuing with this collaboration with the Will Barnes Quartet, who are a fantastic jazz quartet locally. And I create the visuals for the band. We're about to go to Scotland in February, and we're in the middle of our second tour. Other than that, there's a couple of sort of community projects in the pipeline, and just a few sort of things. Nothing massive actually at the moment, but lots of like little projects. So I think this year will be a really good year for focusing on developing new work as well. The next question: what is the biggest challenge of being an artist? I think for me, and I suspect like other artists as well, I think being in a kind of creative headspace is great for creating artworks, but it's not really very practical in terms of building a life and kind of marrying the two, how to sort of survive in 2025 as a person and also maintain a creative headspace is I think I find that the biggest challenge, just to create the situation to be able to continue is the biggest challenge. What advice would you give to your younger self? I just wish I could have been a bit more relaxed, and less socially awkward at like openings and meeting other artists, and just be a bit more relaxed and then therefore more open to more kind of like readings of artworks. And it's definitely something I still struggle with, but I'm getting better as I age, just being more relaxed socially, I guess. Have you ever tried any unconventional mediums or techniques? Yes, I would say that a lot of the mediums, a lot of the kind of materials that I use tend to be used in a way that they're not intended for. So, that's definitely happened since going to art school, I suppose. It was a lot more kind of experimental in that sense. And that has stuck with me to this day. So I suppose things like, using a lot of home improvement materials from B&Q to create collages, using, marbled laminates, in a way to kind of create a sort of inlaid marble technique effect. So that's an example. And then also even now using marbled papers, it's not really, I'm using marbled papers as a kind of palette for almost like using them as paint. And I suppose that's not a kind of typical use of marbled papers. And similarly, even the skies that I'm creating, I'm using the screens that are, again, they're used to create these simple diffusions of colour, but they're not screens aren't being used in the typical kind of screen printing, way of kind of transferring an image necessarily, like a repeated image. So, yeah, I think, rules are made to be broken, and a lot of materials can be inspiring, and you use them in the way that works for whatever you want to use them for. Do you listen to music or have any other type of background noise while you work? Or do you prefer complete silence? I'm always listening to something. I listen to a lot of podcasts in the studio. And music, I have, a huge variety of music I listen to, from like popular music to, a lot of more sort of, I guess, more culturally significant musicians that I would have picked up along the way through sharing studios with other artists. So I suppose musicians like Pharoah Sanders or Arthur Russell or Robbie Basho or Robert Ashley, or and doing this music project with the Will Barnes Quartet as well. I'm really looking forward to this the tour, when we drive to each gig and just hearing the music that they're playing. That's a really great source. For some reason, there's a lot of people living in this part of Wales that are very passionate about music, so there's a lot of DJ nights, and I'm ever expanding my music repertoire, and also podcasts as well. So I listen to a lot of stuff, but I mean, it depends what I'm making. If I'm in the kind of flow state, it's great. Certain things I'm doing, I can't listen to anything at the same time, but on the whole, I do listen to a lot of stuff. What's the best reaction someone has had to your artwork? I have to say that I can't really think of a top reaction that's really stuck with me. Maybe I'm still waiting for that moment to happen. But it's been nice in the exhibition, the Flawed exhibition at Aberystwyth Art Centre, that I've left a comments book there. So it's interesting to see that. I find it really, kind of positive sign that many people have left comments that are really actually really responding to the work, not just your typical kind of didn't understand the work but the cake was good in the cafe kind of comment, which I have read many of. I'm always curious what gets written down in these comment books. So I'm pleased to say that people have responded to the work. There's a lot of very nice comments in there. I suppose the worst reaction would be, indifference. But maybe I'm still waiting for that big reaction that sort of satisfies me. I mean, I haven't really ever had a kind of haven't really had that yet, if you know what I mean. I don't know, that sounds a bit weird, but anyway. What do you hope people take away from your artwork? So, I hope that the viewer has an initial kind of emotional reaction to the work, and is then drawn in to take a closer look, and through looking at a closer inspection, just sort of hope that the viewer is curious as to like how the work is made, and the fact that it is made and it is constructed, like, and that it kind of reveals itself to be made upon closer inspection. So I hope that the work kind of draws the viewer in, for them to discover something in the work there. Because I think looking is really looking and really observing is really important to me. I suppose it harks back to being in the shed as a teenager all those years ago, just trying to find a grounding in reality. And I think that observation is really really important. So that's what I hope people can take away from my artwork too. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope there's something useful in there for you. Cheers.